actually, the patterns of blood on Todd's suit did change, because I just picked the best performance, because I thought you should see that. Anybody else, or all set? Oh, go ahead.
Did you ever have anybody that didn't cooperate, who like screwed up the magic? I mean, since you're so intricate, did they mess it up?
It's pretty robust, and Todd is more robust. Todd is as gentle and charming as he seems to be, not someone you would argue over a parking spot with.
Especially covered in blood.
Yeah.
Since we're all friends here,
Yeah.
might you tell us what happened to Alan?
He was mysteriously spirited away and then brought back. No, we show. One of the challenges of shooting this show was that so much of the fun of the show was in total darkness, and being there viscerally in the middle of it. And then I thought, well, there's no way to shoot this show. And then it popped to my head that maybe in this you should get glimpses of what's going on in the dark room stuff. So you do, but I'm doing that primarily to ground it in something very real, so you don't feel like we're just showing you special effects. So you're partly on our team, but the art of magic is showing you the beautiful and hiding the ugly. And where Alan went and how he went there is ugly. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Is there any chance to take this live show back on the road?
Yes. Yes, we'll be at the Studio Theater at the Geffen in Los Angeles in November, and from there we may go elsewhere. We have several possibilities, but this was deeply installed in this theater. It looks like a plain old empty stage in an empty theater, but it ain't. There's a lot of gaffing going on there. So we are devising a way to give this show a look that will work, but that can be moved from place to place without major renovations.
That would be an amazing experience in the audience.
I mean, even though it's such a dark subject, all the way through it's such a dark subject, people come out of that show just screaming and laughing. They've just had a jolly good time. And every night the stage manager would send me her reports. And the original pitch on the ghost shows was the teenagers will have a lot of fun in the dark. Well, in my reports, because we had infrared on the entire auditorium the whole time, and an infrared camera on them for safety, right? Because if you're in the dark and somebody suddenly stands up or has a heart attack or something, you want to know about it. But the stage manager would send me her reports every night. And she'd say, oh, tonight there was a woman in the front row that had her date's genitals entirely out before the dark section ended. There was one matinee that had like 27 high school boys, and she said there were 3 or 4 of them necking in the back row. So it was great.
Teller,
Yeah.
what is the difference between magicians and illusionists, and when did illusionist become such a prominent term in...
Illusionist, I think, is just a pretentious term for a stage magician. It really is. I mean, usually, magicians distinguish between stand-up magic and what they call stage illusions, which are usually the big tricks with the boxes or people hanging from invisible wires and that sort of stuff. That's really the only difference. It's sort of a technical term in magic, and it just means size. The difference between standing up in a parlor and standing on a stage and having big props.
You said we were going to take, you said we are going to take the show on the road. Are you going with it?
Well, I'm directing in Los Angeles. And because it's going to be quite interesting because I have nightly shows in Las Vegas 5 nights a week.
Right.
So we've arranged the opening section of this show to happen during one of my supposed vacation weeks. And then I'll be commuting to do directing, and I'll also probably have an assistant director on this, who will help me out. Right, this Jim Milan, the same guy who helped me in New York.
Does Penn have anything to do with this?
No. We do a lot of independent projects. He's done a lot of books lately, and part of what keeps a partnership going for 38 years is that you don't do everything together or you go crazy. We've gotten along ever so much better ever since we no longer had to share an apartment. Oh, boy, was that miserable. I'm the slob, by the way, and Penn's the neat guy. You wouldn't believe that, but it's true. So, you know, that's one of my independent projects. The other one that I'm doing is, in January, I start rehearsals for a version of The Tempest that will be magic-centered, in which we take the idea of Prospero as a magician very seriously, and in which all those, you know, those little beautiful scenes in the Shakespeare where spirits come out, all that stuff is going to be real magic and really, really good, with music by Tom Waits, and done in a sort of a style that you might think a 1930s tent show would have. So we do a lot of independent projects that are really hard to do at the same time we're doing our live show.
We have time for two more questions.
Okay,
right here.
one.
The audience member at the end who got a message
Yes.
from the dead for someone,
Yes.
so he just was a real audience member?
They're all real audience members.
So-
We use the same means of espionage that people like John Everett and Sylvia Brown use.
So do you believe anybody has that capability?
No. No, you know, if anyone does, all they have to do is apply to the James Randi Educational Foundation and demonstrate this under actual test conditions with smart people watching who are not recently bereaved and therefore irrational, and they can win, I think, $2 million. You'd think that somebody, if the powers were out there, somebody would take that up and then use that money for charitable purposes. And finally,
Great show, and big fan. Two quick questions. It's a live stage show, so how do you get around the red tape that lets you do the complete darkness? And then other question, you mentioned music. How much thought went into the music, because the organ stuff really adds to the freakness?
yeah, well, I'll do the music one first. Penn and I worked with a wonderful composer named Gary Stockdale for a long time. And I thought that the idea of a player piano has always struck me as spooky. You know, it always looks like there's just some supernatural being playing it. So we had Stockdale come in and compose pieces for each of those sections. And the red tape around in New York, what we did was we just never asked the fire department. we did a few sly things, like we had luminous exit signs behind the real exit signs that had no real light on them, so there was no chance of anybody seeing them. But mostly what we did was we actually did care for everybody's safety, you know, and keeping the infrared on everybody and having everyone carefully observed and keeping those down to just, you know, they're 2 minutes long. And that, even in London right now, there's a show running that has a couple of total blackouts of exit signs, but for a limited amount of time and with a great deal of attention to safety. You know, basically we also had a kill switch so that if by chance everything went awry, you know, if the stage manager died, the lights would pop on. So, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. And